There it is. Hello, everyone. We are live and welcome to the Desert Farmer Podcast. Today is the July 6th, 2024 edition. So we have been seeing you guys here at the first Saturday of every month, and we've decided going forward that we're going to try to do this every week. Just what we needed. Something that we're going to do every week. But
we'll try it.
We're gonna see how this works. We've got a couple weeks from today. We won't have a stream, but we're gonna try to do this every Saturday at 2. We think more consistency will help. And what we really want to focus on, we'll always have a topic that we're going to be discussing. Today's going to be irrigation. But we do want to make sure that we're answering your guys' questions both here live and as we get them, because we get a lot of questions throughout the week that come in different ways. So we get questions here on YouTube. Obviously, we have folks that reach out to us via other social media platforms, predominantly Facebook and Instagram. And we have folks that phone call. They'll call Lori. She has the business phone. Or email. I mean, it's a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. Or the neighbor down the street. Somebody stops by. Amazon delivery driver. Etc.
Whatever.
So we've got a list of questions that we have for this week. And the main topic that we're going to want to cover with you guys here first is going to be the number one question that we always get is what?
This time of year?
Any time of year. Number one question.
How much should I be watering my fruit trees?
Correct. So by far the number one question we always get. So we wanted to dedicate it some time here today for you guys that are here in the Phoenix area. I don't know if you guys saw the headline last week, but we had record-breaking temperatures in June. Now, there's a caveat to that because you need to read into the details. That is the highest average temperature ever. Not the highest temperatures, because it actually wasn't that bad in June as far as overall like peak high temps. And I don't know whether or not we actually broke a record, an individual record for a day, but the average high temperature was a record apparently for the month of June this year. So, and we did see some stress like we always do with our trees. Mm-hmm. And that's very common in the month of June. June is generally the driest month because we don't have monsoon seasons that have started. We see single digit humidity. It's very common in the month of June. I know when I looked at it a few times in the afternoon when it's the most dry and a little breezy, we were down at like 9% humidity. So wow. Extremely dry. That is basically almost no moisture in the air. And for most folks who are not here in Arizona or are used to a desert environment, they don't understand that literally means there is no real moisture. So we don't get anywhere near our dew point. So there's never any dew on the ground. None of that exists at all. So it's just super dry. So it's challenging because a dry environment like that can cause desiccation in leaves, which is dryness in leaves or a loss of humidity in leaves very, very rapidly. So you need to be more diligent about how you're irrigating and how often, especially in the month of June. It really is a critical month for us. So I think what I'll do, we got a few folks here saying hi. Daryl, how you doing? Good to see you here. Thank you for always being so consistent. And got Kevin. Yep. Kevin, how's it going, man?
Said scorching up here in Vegas too. Lots of 5 a.m. work. Then we run for cover and stay safe. We're right there with you.
We are right there with you, man. We were out just before 5 this morning. Well, it's getting a little bit later. So we were out about 4:45 for the last few weeks. And I think we're out just before 5 a.m. today. And yeah, we were hightailing it in by 8.
Same thing. Did we even do any projects today?
Well, if you want to consider the logs that I was
moving,
we
moved a bunch of logs. That's right.
Let's clarify there. Dwayne moved a bunch of logs.
I drove the tractor.
Lori drove the tractor.
Logs.
But yeah, it's definitely hot. It's definitely an early. So yeah, back to irrigation. So in the month of June, that's when we start to dial up irrigation to its peak. And so what that means for us is all of our semi-dwarf trees. So that would be our citrus trees at the front of the property, all of our pome fruit, apples, pears, things like that. Our fig trees are basically semi-dwarf. Our jujubes are semi-dwarf. All of our stone fruit is semi-dwarf. Pistachios are semi-dwarf. So most of the trees we have on the farm, those go to a twice a week schedule. And those right now are getting 60 gallons twice a week. So it's a lot of water. Now, these trees are about 4 years old with a few exceptions. And those trees, when they're younger, first year or so, it was about half of that. So it was about 30 gallons about twice a week. Year before last, we tried to go through the month of June only watering once a week, and it wasn't enough for our fig trees. So we could probably get away with that with citrus going once a week, and stone fruit probably. Same thing with palm fruit, but it's dicey. So for us at this point, it's twice a week. Now, if we start to see some monsoons, we had 2 monsoon storms back to back a couple weeks ago, and then nothing since then. Very hot and dry right now. We're going to maintain that. Once we see the monsoons kick in and we roll into August and definitely into September, we'll back that back down, and it won't be more than about once a week, same amount. Now, our full-size trees, we have black Pakistan mulberries and pecan trees, which are very, very sensitive to a lack of water. The pecan trees, not so much the mulberries. Those are on a much, much higher amount of water. So those are getting 90 gallons twice a week. Now, keep in mind, these trees are 4 or so years old. Pecan trees need a lot of water. Hindsight, we probably would not have done pecan trees because they are really more well suited to flood type, true flood irrigation, as opposed to what we can provide. So whether those will stay or not, I think that's still up in the air because the mulberries don't need quite that much.
Yeah, the mulberries, we definitely wouldn't be putting as much water on it, but they're on the same line as the pecan trees, and the pecan trees do need it. So
right.
So the mulberries just automatically get more.
Right. So a full-size tree obviously does well with more water. The mulberries could probably back off. And then all of our grapevines. Our grapevines are on twice a week. The way we have the irrigation set up for those, there's a 2-gallon drip emitter, 2 gallon per hour drip emitter on either side of each vine. So it's getting 4 gallons per hour. We run those for 3 hours twice a week. So those are getting 12 gallons each time, twice a week. So 24 total gallons in a week. Now, one thing to keep in mind with your grapes and really any fruit that is ripening, you do want to make sure that you're consistent with water. So with our grapevines, we switch to that extra water, that twice a week, when we start to see them ripening, and then we maintain that throughout all of the ripening season. So that way we have consistent moisture. We try to do the same with most of the fruit trees because they can be sensitive to that as well. The challenge, of course, is June. So we wind up doubling that at the end of our peach season. Most of the plums have started to finish at that point. The only thing that can really be affected there is your figs, but the figs need the moisture. So, so again, that time frame in June has a tendency to work out pretty well. We got questions here.
Okay, so we left off at Kevin. So Daryl, yes, it is very hot and humid here. Also, I live by a beautiful lake called False River. That's funny. We have George. I am now drip irrigating every other day. Still seeing a few leaves drying out on the grapevines, but I think they are going into dormancy.
Yes.
And then we have, looks like sunny.
South Spain. Wow.
Yeah, good evening, South Spain. We had 42 degrees Celsius 2 days ago, but not the hottest here.
It's still hot, even in Spain. Woo.
And then we have Maximus. Hey, y'all, I think I made a rookie mistake and bought a semi-dwarf Alberta peach without researching its chill time.
That could be a challenge. I'm not familiar with that variety, so we'd have to look that up. Let me know if you know what the chill hours are. It's hard for us to do a search and keep up with you guys. So let us know on that. I haven't heard of it before. So
Alberta peach tree.
Lori's going to look that up. So back to irrigation. So we have all of our blackberries. So blackberries are on a drip irrigation schedule, same as our mulberries, our Shangri-La mulberries and the contorted mulberries, which are basically a semi-dwarf tree. Those are twice a week, 60 gallons each time. The blackberry beds are on drip irrigation. Those have four 4-gallon per hour emitters. So those are getting about 16 gallons an hour. So about 32 gallons or so each or twice a week. So they're getting about 60 gallons total. Now, one of the questions that we had this week was specifically on blackberries and how we water our blackberries and whether or not they are more drought resistant, if it's a drought resistant variety, and how they do on regular irrigation. I will say the Primark blackberries, which is really our only go-to blackberry, those do really well on a twice a week irrigation schedule. This time of year when it's really dry, the leaves will brown a little bit, but you'll still see some green growth. Now, the beauty of that particular variety, they can take a lot of irrigation. So you don't want to have it obviously on constantly, but you can water them every day and they will just stay greener and grow a little more rapidly. So we've seen them do well with limited irrigation and they've done well with a lot of daily irrigation. So they're very, very forgiving with those blackberries. Hey, if we got a bunch of you guys here. If you guys could just hit the like button for us, that really helps, not only here, but also as this replays for everybody in the future.
So it looks like Alberta peach is chilling requirement is 850 hours.
Okay, that's a little high.
If you're in Arizona here,
that's high. Yeah, so to give you an idea, out here in Whitman, we have the Gala apple trees are about a 500 chill hour. We have Gala apples that set this year. So we can get in that 500 to 600 range, but really not more than that. So unless you're really on the outskirts or heading north, that could be a challenge. So it's in the ground, so you're going to find out. You'll have to let us know.
Big box stores sell plants that don't produce in your area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a 9B.
9B? Yeah.
Yeah. See, and that's the hard thing about big box stores is they aren't zone specific.
No.
And that's so frustrating because you see trees and you're like, no, you can't grow that here.
No.
But not everybody knows that.
No.
They just assume that, oh, they're selling this tree. I want it.
Yeah. Well, and I know one of the things that what we've seen is apple trees in particular. So they'll have a lot of different types of apple trees that you wouldn't normally be able to grow here. And they'll do, the fruit cocktail trees where they'll have multi-varieties on a single trunk. And, it's
one of the three.
It's a Gala apple and then two other apples that, you'd see in the grocery store. Well, those don't do well here, unfortunately. Yeah. So the biggest thing I think when it comes to those things, now, whether or not the Alberta would actually give you fruit or not, I don't know. So Dave Wilson's done some testing in Irvine, California, some very high chill hour apples, and they're still getting apples. So I think the biggest concern that I have, number one, obviously variety. The second one would be rootstock. So, the rootstocks typically in the big box stores are not designed for us here. You guys know we're big proponents of RSI growers and Reed, and his rootstocks for pome fruit and stone fruit do fantastic. So, I think if you had a high chill variety on a good rootstock, I think at that point you'd have a chance. But you'll have to let us know how it goes. That really is a bummer.
Yeah.
Questions?
So somewhere I lost track of one of your goats. What happened to the third goat?
So yeah, you lost track of Lily because Lily's not on the farm anymore. Do you want us to explain where Lily went?
So all I'm going to say is that Dwayne and Lily did not like each other.
No.
And so Dwayne did not want Lily anymore.
No.
So we no longer have her.
Wow.
That's all I'm going to say.
That's a real vague answer.
That's all we need to say is we parted ways with Lily.
We did part ways with Lily. What else we got? Masood, how's it going? Hello, and in Turkey. Masood's my homeboy in Turkey.
Your
so.
Homeboy?
Yep.
It's not in English, so I can't read what you said here.
Yep, it's okay. We'll be able to look it up later.
Las Vegas. It's been hot here in Las Vegas as well. So far, all we've been able to grow in our backyard is... Oh, anguish and regret. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, those are not plants, sweetheart. I love you. Yeah, I agree. A lot of anguish and regret. We've got a few of those here, too.
Yeah. All right, guys. BE, grand afternoon. Lovely couples. Lovely what y'all doing and hope to visit one day. Praying you all much abundance and
Thank
blessings.
you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, still hot, right? Love your work. I try to plant a bunch of fruit trees in between the existing olive trees.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, we've had a lot of folks suggest replacing the guavas up front with olive trees.
I know.
Yeah, so maybe.
Do you do any soil moisture testing between waterings?
No, we don't. We never have. So it's just not something that we've tried to do. I suppose we probably could. We haven't had an issue with overwatering. We've had a little bit of underwatering from time to time. Usually that's a problem with the irrigation. And the fig trees may not be a bad idea. So just to see kind of how they're doing. Because the fig trees, we have several that are doing fine, and all of them are doing okay. But the struggle with the fig trees would make me want to consider that. So, but no, we haven't. We kind of just do it by eye, by looking at the trees and seeing how they're doing.
Okay, Kevin, curious if you've harvested all your apples and stone fruit. I still have plums and apples, but they are close.
So we have. So the only thing that we have left as far as harvesting, we're in the middle of our Zinfandel harvest. Cabernet has not started yet. We have jujubes and figs on the trees. I think that's it, right? As far as fruit trees.
Jujubes, figs. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So everything else is gone. Now I will tell you that we lose a lot of the stone fruit outside of the peaches to birds and squirrels, and so we would probably still have a couple of stone fruit on the trees. But yeah, pome fruit, we always harvest those before the end of June because they start to get mealy when we get real hot and dry. So that is one fruit that it doesn't ripen until basically the middle of June. But if you let them go till the end of June, definitely the beginning of July, they ripen fully and get really mealy. So we usually tend to harvest those a little bit early. 9B.
See.
So you got that one.
Yeah, no, that was because I had already skipped down.
Okay.
When is the next wine and healthy farm living video? Thanks.
So healthy farm, that's a great question. So we talked about healthy farm living. So wine, we're working on 2. We've got 2 videos that we've got.
I've got like 6 videos I have to edit. And the wine ones keep getting pushed.
They keep getting pushed back. So
because they're not a priority.
I know. So we've got 2 winemaking videos that we have shot and we need to just edit and get up. Now, I don't know whether or not we'll put them on Healthy Farm Living. We're still trying to figure out what to do with that channel because it doesn't get the same views and traction as we do here on the primary channel. It really is kind of a different thing. We started that during the pandemic and really wanted to focus on healthy eating and healthy living, and we got sidetracked. So I don't know whether we're going to maintain that one and this one, or if we're going to integrate the 2. We're kind of kicking that around. So you guys will have to let us know what you think. The winemaking videos, though, we do have 2 in the hopper. Mm-hmm. So we have apple. So we're going to rehash apple. We're going to show you guys an updated apple one that we just shot because that one is now in the secondary. And the mulberry. So we're redoing the mulberry video as well. We haven't done one of those recently, and we're changing a little bit how we're doing our wine. And so these 2, you'll see those slight changes in our process. So those are coming.
Got Pam. Hi, guys.
Hey, what's up, Pam?
And then we have, it's 120 in the shade right now in Northern California.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Carry on, experts. Oh my goodness.
Is that, you got to let me know where you're at. Are you in like Redding, Red Bluff, somewhere up in that area? Because I've got some experience this time of year going through that part of town.
All right. How are the chili peppers that you're growing this season?
Ooh, what do you think?
Well, the banana pepper in the bed did really good. The jalapenos did okay. One of them I don't think did very good. And then pretty much all the peppers, the 4 pepper plants I have in that other area, they didn't grow very well.
Well, and I think part of that is just because of where we planted them. We have to be fair with that. So, but the jalapenos and the banana peppers have done really well for us. It's really as far as we've branched out. I will tell you, so Lori and I changed our diet pretty drastically about 3 months ago, and several different reasons in there why, some health concerns. And so we started doing intermittent fasting, and we started focusing on more of a keto type diet. So, which is funny because we're surrounded by fruit trees, but more on that in a minute. So, but we really kind of changed how we were eating, when we were eating, and we've both seen a lot of health benefits from that. And so, the point being, when we did that, I know my taste for spicy changed almost overnight.
You wanted spicy like all the time.
I don't know what it was. All of a sudden,
You're
was
like
craving spicy food, and so we've really started incorporating peppers a lot more into all of the things that we, well, not all, a lot of the things that we eat. So I think we're going to expand that next year. So more on that, because I really do think we need to really kind of focus more on peppers. They do fantastic for us. They're perennial as long as we don't freeze too hard, which can be a challenge for us, not as much for you guys in the city. And there's a lot of options for us here. So I think we're just going to have to take that more seriously in advance. It's a great question. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. You got Dan, blacksmith.
Hey, what's up, Dan?
Howdy, folks.
Yes.
I love our fig trees except for our California King. It keeps absorbing.
Oh, absorbing the figs, pulling it back in, they dry up. Yep. So I wonder if that may be moisture. It's possible. Hey, let me know if you've gotten any ripe figs off of it before. I'm curious.
All right. Sam, hello. It's Sam from Santan Valley. I'm having a problem with an outdoor rats and gophers that are destroying tree roots and irrigation lines.
Oh, well, irrigation lines, I can see that. So I'm surprised you're having them get into the tree roots. We haven't had that happen here. So is it young trees? That's the only thing I can assume.
Yeah, because I mean, we do get some that dig into like the irrigation rings, but I think the trees are so big that we haven't had a problem with it.
Yeah, we didn't have.
Do you have barn cats?
I will say that can help. Although they try to get after the gophers. I will tell you this: the cats will go after mice. Not sure on rats. It depends on the size of the rat. They probably would try, but they are very good mousers. They do go after ground squirrels, especially when they're young, which is great.
Small rabbits.
Yep, and small rabbits. So
try to get birds.
Yep, and they get them.
Yeah.
So, but either way, I obviously that without trapping them, which we've had kind of hit and miss with trapping. The other option that you have that I will tell you works. We've backed off of it now with the cats here. Is poison. It is the one exception that we made on the farm for the first couple years was the ground squirrels, and it will take out the mice and rats. Now, you'll want to get the boxes. There's a box. I think we've got them on the Amazon shop. There's a box that you put the bait inside. I would highly suggest you do that so you don't have any other animals going after it. But I just realized that when you're using that, owls that would eat those, it could be a problem. One of the reasons why we stopped. But it is effective. It does work on them.
It is really effective. We actually spent an entire summer that we would go out every single night. We would cover every hole that we found. The next night we would come out, any open hole, we would put poison in the hole. We would bait those. Like put the bait in there. The next night we'd come out, cover all the holes again, and we just repeated that every single night. And that year we did.
There was fewer and fewer and fewer each time. So it does work, but it's poison.
Yeah. So it's been years since we've done that. So we won't do it now just because we have the cats here.
Yeah, but it is a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see where we're at. My chili plants from seed are hot, but chili from the nursery are trash dying.
So the seed, the ones that grew from seed are doing well.
Got it.
That's good to know. I'd like to do that. So I'd rather do them from seed.
Okay, that's Keith responding to Maximus, Pam, Sam. I'm fighting rats big time. Dwayne, may you use your gaming controller skills and get some sweet drone footage of the farm, please.
My gaming skills are not what they used to be.
That is funny. Actually, he was on the drone this weekend.
It's perfect. Ask and ye shall receive. So actually, next week's video, we'll have it in there. So you guys have asked us to update the intro part of our videos that we put in there. We finally did that. So with new music, with new different music. But yeah, so I did finally get the drone out and got some updated footage. I'm pretty sure everything in that intro will be new footage. Current. From a couple days ago. So you'll get a really good shot of the farm as it stands today.
Yeah. Let's see. Olives are very hardy species and respond well to mulching, as I experienced in the last 2 years. Oil quality up and growing good. They don't need much irrigation. You might want to try.
Yeah, we may. I mean, olive oil, that's part of the diet, right?
I know, yeah. All right, it's responding
Redding.
to Keith. Redding, oh.
Yep, had a feeling. I heard 120, and my mind, when you said Northern California and 120, my mind immediately went to Redding. That's where my dad and we would travel from Los Angeles to Grants Pass, Oregon, and we would stop in Redding for the day, afternoon, and spend the night in Redding. And I remember just how drastically hot it was there. It's very, very warm.
All right, so Pam, my peppers come back each year. I did have to put some shade over them this year, though. It's been hot.
Yeah.
All right. Healthy Farm Living videos on this channel would do great, I'm sure. Maybe even cooking recipes from a cookbook to enhance your recipe list.
For sure.
Integrating the other channel into this for viewership is smart. I could be a whole different playlist series on this channel with Dwayne making appearances and cooking eggs as well.
I can cook eggs. So now you are our primary cook, right? By default, because I still work full-time off the farm.
Yeah, I'm not good at it.
You are. You're actually really good at it.
No, I wouldn't say that.
But you need a recipe. So I work without them. You need a recipe.
I cannot make up a recipe for myself. I need something.
She's
in front of me.
You're a baker at heart.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a recipe,
directions.
it could be dicey.
Yes.
So, but yeah, dicey. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the direction that we're leaning, because we really want to make sure that we are showing really kind of farm to table. And so the idea behind that channel was a little bit different. And obviously you guys know us here, and we see all of you guys in both places. So it seems kind of silly to try to maintain them both. But I really was encouraging Lori to do a couple of cooking episodes, and short ones where you guys see some of the things that we're doing. We're using a lot of things off the farm, obviously, and with the kind of our change in our diet, we wanted to share that with you guys as well, because it's done really, really well for us. So,
regarding the California king fig, apparently it is one of the few figs that needs to be pollinated by a wasp that doesn't live in our area. Big box store again.
That is frustrating.
That is frustrating.
Well, that's frustration all around.
Yeah. Rats tried to eat my grapevines from the roots up.
Wow.
Bait in enclosures.
Or a necessity. It does work. It really does work. And if you don't have animals around or anything that's going to have an issue with it, they work. So there's no way around it. Especially on a smaller scale where you can really control it. That's the challenge that we have here. It's a lot harder to control. Yeah. Because we're so spread out. We got 6 acres, and those buggers are everywhere.
They're everywhere. So, and they're even on our neighbors' properties.
Correct.
So they're like just on the outside of our property, and they come into our property.
Which I'm sure happens with everybody in the city too, but there's just less of them. Here we're the only game in town for them, is what it narrows down to.
Only one in our area. Yeah, that Nate and Tara have a few things. I think Jake and Shay might have a few things in their garden, but not to the extreme
not the mass
that
quantities
we
of
have.
feed and water that we have here.
Yeah. All right, Pam, what rat bait did you use? Do you remember?
You know what, Pam, we had to change that. So if you go to the Amazon shop, I believe I added one in there because there's one that you can't buy here in Arizona anymore. And so, but we did update that. So Pam, shoot us a note and I'll send you a link to Amazon. There was 2 or 3 different types that we were using. I believe 2 of the 3 are still available. So I'll send me a note and we'll get you that.
What are your all-time top 3 favorite games from when you used to be a gamer?
So Call of Duty. So my son and I played Call of Duty consistently. Came out in November? So we would play every single one of those new games. We were always playing zombies. We were fans of co-op games because had a chance to play together with a single login for Xbox. And so that was one. Army of Two was another one. Again, co-op option. So we played that one. And then basically any Elder Scrolls, I was down for that. That'll tell you just how much of a gigantic nerd I am. Elder Scrolls was my jam. So all of them. And I can only hope and pray. I think it's number 6 will come out someday. Because then I might actually go back to gaming if that happens.
Our son has been trying to talk him into getting, another Xbox so they can play together.
Just don't have time. The farm's taken over.
Yeah. Temp gauge in the sun is 136. Just checked.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's when you know you need mulch and you need to not be outside.
Lori, would you ever accept and grow chili seeds if they were delivered to your residence? So as long as I can direct seed them, I am not good at trying to do starts with seeds.
No, but I think with pepper, well, we have the nursery now. And so it's a lot easier to start out there. The nursery. Mm-hmm. You know that thing with all the fruit trees in it? Mm-hmm. Just saying. All right, so we got questions here. We also have questions on our list. Do you want to pop over to our list real quick? Yeah. So these are questions that you guys have been asking us. We'll keep looking for your guys' questions as well. But one of the questions that we got here over the last couple weeks was somebody who wanted to grow an orange tree from seed. Now, I don't believe they were here in the country. So that was the challenge, was they were trying to get an orange tree, and the only thing that they can think of was to have somebody send them seeds. So the challenge with any type of grafted tree, and all of our citrus trees that are known varieties here in the United States, to my knowledge, are grafted trees, which means there's a rootstock, and then there is the scion, or the known variety that's grafted onto the rootstock. So the seed will not reproduce true to type, meaning if you have a Moro blood orange, don't know why I chose that, but if you do, so if you have a Moro blood orange and you take the seed and plant it, you're going to wind up with some type of mix between a random orange and whatever the rootstock is, which could be just about anything. So that's the challenge with your grafted trees. So why you take and you have a Florida Prince peach and you plant that pit, who knows what you're going to get. So it could be the rootstock, could be something else, but that is my understanding. The follow-up to that was, could you just root a cutting? And the answer is yes, you probably can. However, there's a reason why we have rootstocks for those trees. It's because the roots for the saplings just don't do well, especially in environments like this. So it's the reason why, again, back to getting a good rootstock. We've talked about it here today, so it kind of goes back into some of the frustrations that a couple of you guys have talked about, is a good rootstock and a good variety. That combination is so critical, especially for us in environments like this, where things like rootstock and variety truly do make a difference. Now, you could argue that that's really the case everywhere, because where we have challenges here, you guys have them back east as well. They're just different. So you have more moisture, maybe too much. You have different bacterial and fungal infections that we don't see here. And so these rootstocks are all designed to basically combat those, and so you have your best chance of success with the known variety. So I thought it was a good question. Wanted to talk about that here. What else we got? Talked about irrigation. If you guys have any other questions, I do want to make sure I hit on those here today. You may bring up something that we have not talked about already. What's next?
How often do we irrigate trees? You did. Can you use the chicken standing water? Okay, so we had someone call and ask about, we do standing water in our chicken coop for our chickens during the summertime when it's over 100 degrees. And so we had someone that does that and wanted to know if they can use that water on their like veggie beds or edibles.
Right. So the concern was bacteria and other harmful microbes inside the water. And the two issues that I pointed out to them when they asked, the first one is going to be, these chickens go in that water and then they go in that water, if you know what I mean. So there's a lot of manure in that water, very, very high nitrogen content. We had a questionable loss of a fruit tree on the old farm. And one of the things that we were dumping around that tree consistently on a small tree was this bath water. So I believe it was probably too much nitrogen. It could have been too much moisture. That's possible. It was a citrus tree. But the challenge would be nitrogen first and foremost, which can burn the roots, especially on young plants. And then the second thing would obviously be bacteria. The question was put that on to veggies. And so specifically edibles, meaning you're going to consume the things that may come into contact with that water. That could be a challenge. So what we typically do with that water is we put them in the areas between our fruit trees. So where we have our orchard rows, this is between the trees. So we put that down in the wood chips. So it's going to go down into the soil, and we also water it in. And so it gets watered in, so it gets diluted. It helps to obviously give us some moisture in between those trees and dilute some of that nitrogen content.
All right. Which tangerine has the largest thorns?
So this was a funny question. So somebody had emailed us and had several different citrus trees they were wanting to grow, asked about a few different things, but one of them I thought was interesting was which one has thorns. So citrus, if you guys know, generally speaking, has thorns. Now, the size of the thorn, how dense the thorns are will vary from type to type. And they were specifically asking about tangerines. Now, you and I both have experience with this because we've both gotten jammed with these, is the gold nugget.
Yeah.
The gold nugget has a massive thorn on it. I like to exaggerate, get closer to the camera so it looks bigger.
It's big.
It's probably a couple inches.
Yeah.
Right? So massive, massive thorns. So trying to get into that fruit can be challenging. But that one by far is the toughest.
You want to keep going on the questions, or you want me to jump back?
We're going to jump back and forth here, guys. We want to make sure we get to your questions.
Ooh. All right. So Pam on the Amazon link. Pam, I text you. The ones that we used, I didn't read to see if it's for rats because we always did it for ground squirrels. I pile mulch on top of my head when I go outside.
Yeah.
Mars, Call of Duty, Army of Two, and Elder Scrolls. Got it. I remember when Lori was surprised in a prior video that you were planning to get an Xbox because of your son.
Yeah, it never happened.
They still haven't done it.
No.
Do you both plan to add more trees on your farm?
Yes. So we obviously are replacing trees as we lose them. But as far as planned trees, we have a few spots up here where the guava came out. We have, really 3, because we're going to probably pull the blackberry as well because we don't need it up front here, right? So you guys had made several suggestions for us. We have some ideas as well. So at least those 3 trees that I know of. We just planted some more moringa. So we've got a new planting of moringa in the duck enclosure. We need to replace that fig tree that didn't make it. Whatever that one was, the raspberry latte, never came out of dormancy.
That was sad.
That was frustrating, but that's what happens. You buy them online. You buy them you buy them at big box nurseries. You get the wrong type. You buy them online. You get the right type, but they don't always come out of dormancy. Yeah. So that one. And the only other thing, if you guys saw last week's video, we have the fruit tree nursery that we started. Had a lot of you guys asking for that, so we're going to give that a shot. And depending on how that goes, if that's successful, and we find that you guys are wanting us to continue to do that ongoing, is we probably will expand 1 or 2 of the orchards and start actually growing out some propagation trees. So if that does well and we need to expand that, we will, and that would include adding some additional trees. So we would grow those out, grow out the starts, and really keep them basically almost as a pollarded tree each season, and basically use them as cuttings. So.
So we have Jen. Hello from down the road in Whitman.
Hey.
How are your chickens
Whitman?
handling the heat wave? We are new to this, and last summer the ladies were still indoors. They are a hot mess right now.
Truly. So one of the things that we found, we've been raising chickens. I believe we got our first chickens at the end of 2017, if I'm not mistaken. So about 7 years ago, and we have. Out of those 7 years, we've raised how many batches of?
Oh, I have no idea.
A couple hundred at least layers. So we're talking about layers. So at least a couple hundred layers, lots of different types. I believe we lost our very first one to heat, our very first one. So 1 out of hundreds. And what we found, we've got a video that details what we do here. A couple things. Number one, you need to make sure that you don't have a traditional coop. So we have a chain link enclosure and we have an open coop. There are no doors on the coop. They're never shut in. We're never cold enough here to damage a chicken. So they always need shade, always need shade. They always need water. And we use standing water, and that has been all that we do. We don't do anything else. So the standing water is really simple. You basically just take, again, we've got a video detailing it, but as a quick answer, we take the concrete mixing trays that you get from Home Depot. We put a couple of clay bricks in the bottom so they can stand on the clay bricks and fill those with water. And they'll basically stand on those bricks throughout the day. And that's how chickens cool themselves, is their feet.
Yeah.
So, and again, we've lost one, and that's questionable. I don't know whether or not.
We don't know if it was from the heat. It could have been,
We don't know. We didn't lose any others, and we've got 40 of them out there. So, and it's the first time we've had it happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really all you need. Misting systems and things like that, folks do that all the time, but understand that chickens are not people. And they don't cool off the same way that we cool off. And so a misting system can work if it's pooling on the ground and they're standing in the water. So that standing water with plenty of shade, that is the key for us, and you'll have success. And again, we've had a lot of different breeds here, and breed doesn't make a difference. At least it hasn't for us. Great question.
All right, Dwayne, will you ever bring the beard back?
Oh man, where did somebody see me in a beard?
Oh, you've got videos out there. That was at least a little fuller than what you keep now.
So you can't see it here, but there's a whole lot of white in that. So I think I could probably play Santa at this point. I mean, I'm not quite as big as Santa needs to be, but the rest of the beard probably could do it. I don't know. We'll see. What
are your honest opinions on finally becoming a fruit tree nursery?
Okay, so it doesn't seem real to me because the people that I have always, mainly it's been Reed that I've always looked up to as far as really knowing his stuff and being a go-to person for fruit trees. He's been we've been buying trees from him for 12 years now, I think. And so whenever I have a question that I can't answer, it has always been Reed that's been able to either answer that question or give me his opinion on something. So I always see it that way. The second part of it is when I think of nurseries, I think of, all the different fruit trees and veggies and seeds and compost and amendments, what you'd find at Summer Winds. And so my mind doesn't go to that with what we have here. I think about it differently, I suppose. As far as, the workload and some of those things, I think for me, it won't be as big a deal as it will be for Lori, because all of a sudden we will actually have open hours. Right?
I don't know if I'll do open hours. I may still do like by appointment.
I think at some point in time though, realistically.
No.
Okay. Well, so that would be a challenge. Okay. I like to say that Lori and I always want to be on the same book as Lori. Not always
on the same page.
Not on the same page with this one. Okay. Turn the page. I don't know. I think I'm a business person, and so the farm has always been a business for us. It's a big part of our retirement plan, and so I always think of ways as an entrepreneur. I think of ways to make a sale, to make an income, but to fulfill a need, and a true need, because we don't depend on this income for our daily lives. We depend on this income for the life of the farm at this point. And so we do things, when we test them out in small chunks. And so we don't have any major losses. So we do it in small chunks. But I think this one, we've had so many of you guys ask us, and one of those business issues is when your customers ask you for something, you provide it. And so this is definitely one of those. And so you guys have asked us to do this so many times. Hundreds of times we've been asked about people wanting to buy fruit trees from us, that we had to at least try it. So I think that's where I stand on it today.
Yeah, and the biggest one was mulberry trees.
Yeah. And, we explained in that video the reasoning behind it. We've gotten burned. We've been talking about it today. of, somebody getting the wrong variety that doesn't fit the area. It may never produce. Those are frustrations. And, with these in particular, we wanted to make sure that it was a known variety. There wasn't a question about what you'd walk away with. So the things that we get frustrated with, that we're hearing from you guys today is a problem. We know it's a problem, and we don't want to be that nursery. I don't want to be that. I want to be a solution to a problem. And so that's kind of what we're attempting to do. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Hello is that Mali in West Africa?
Oh, wow.
Samba?
Wow. Cool.
Hello.
Howdy.
Welcome.
Hello.
Do roots from various species poison each other? Can I use apple to shade cucumber, citrus to shade grapes?
So yes, there are some that do. I think if you're familiar with eucalyptus can be a challenge. Some other trees can have, it's called, I believe it's allelopathic. Either way, it's where the roots or something from the tree will actually inhibit the growth on the ground. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, trees, depending on their height, can always inhibit growth on the ground because they shade the ground. So something that needs a tremendous amount of sunlight until that tree becomes a canopy can be a challenge. As far as growing underneath it, I think the biggest issue that you're going to find is you want to have companion plants, so things that go well together. So to answer your question, some things simply won't go together. So you have, for example, mesquite trees. Mesquite trees have very deep tap roots. They also have very invasive roots. If you guys have grown them before, that's the case. And they will shade really well, especially when they're young. So if you go to plant something underneath them, you may be challenged because you have a lot of shade. So something that needs a lot of sunlight may be challenged to produce, like, say, fruit. So especially when it's young and not a lot of light penetrates it. But I know eucalyptus, number one, has been an issue. Creosote, I know, is an issue, and that actually grows really well around here. So both, the creosote in particular can inhibit growth, period. And so it's one of the reasons why they're successful when certain other things are not. But I will tell you, I'm not an expert in this. So I know there are specific things that you wouldn't plant together when it comes to trees and other crops. I think one other thing, the question that we get here a lot, especially from the permaculture crowd, is why we don't have a true fruit forest. Now, there's multiple reasons behind that. But one of the things that's typically planted and grows really well as a ground cover here is sweet potatoes. But I can tell you, sweet potato roots are extremely invasive.
Yeah.
So a sweet potato with a brand new fruit tree could be a real problem. So you have two different roots that are trying to establish and outcompete. Chances are good the fruit tree will win. But when they're young, don't do it, in my opinion, because you're taking a chance that somebody could outcompete, and obviously you want that fruit tree first. Once it's established, go for it. At that point, I think you'd be fine with pretty much any of the fruit trees that I know of.
Yeah, and the problem is, though, with sweet potatoes under a fruit tree, if you're going to harvest those, so if you're using it just as a ground cover, that's one thing. But if you're wanting to harvest the sweet potatoes, now you're digging up roots. Right.
But it's a good question. I don't have a really good answer because I'm not real familiar with that. I know there's a lot of folks out there that are much more so than I am.
Okay. All right. Oh, Pam ordered. Good.
Glad you saw them there, Pam.
Got it on there. If you make PVC additions, will you add that information on a future video?
PVC additions? Mars, let me know what you mean by it. I'm not... you're talking about irrigation? PVC irrigation. I'm assuming that's what you're meaning there. Yes. So we will eventually do some additional irrigation because we're going to have to.
Yeah.
We've got some temporary irrigation we've installed for the turkey pasture and the berry cane patch. We're basically using hoses and a battery operated timer. But yeah, we definitely will. We just haven't done any since we moved in. So we haven't really done any irrigation since 2020. Yeah. I see Aaron. How's it going, Aaron?
Okay, so Lori, what were the conditions needed for you to be able to plant mango trees on your farm again?
Go ahead. It's all yours.
That I would have to be responsible for babying it in the summer and the winter, and he would not help me at all.
You know that's not true.
That's pretty much true.
I like to talk big. I'm not a big guy. Pretty small. So
the biggest thing is I know how much babying that it'll need, and I just don't have the time yet for it. So one of these days when I'm more like on a better schedule and a better routine,
yeah,
then...
you'll have plenty of time as we continue to do more things to the business. Plenty of time.
Yeah, opening up a nursery.
Exactly. That was on the list.
Are you worried about the bird flu disease?
None. Not at all. Nope. So not worried about it. So our chickens here don't come into contact with anything that would have that. So I'm not concerned about it. No. Those are big barns that have to try to keep that out. And they're constantly bringing in chicks. So they have a constant influx of baby chicks, dying birds, baby chicks, dying birds. That's a constant for them. And so, they do it in rotations, and they're in these big houses. Our birds are out on pasture every day. So, and separate from that nonsense, unfortunately.
Can chickens swim like ducks? Maybe give them a pool to swim in. They won't.
No, they don't
actually
swim like ducks.
Don't like, being in water.
Right.
The standing water, it just gets their feet and their legs, which cools them down.
Yep.
Great tips, thanks. 120.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That is hot.
I think we're at 100. We're at about 112, 113. How's it going, Aaron?
Hi, friends. I hear through the grapevine that chickens up to 6 are allowed in backyards here in Arizona. Roosters are not allowed. Coops 20 feet away from neighbors.
I know. Well, I know the issue is usually the HOA.
Yeah. So,
but I know, at least my understanding is that the HOA is really the issue. It's not, and so it could be a city requirement that I'm not aware of. That's very possible, because we live in the county. It's the only time we've had birds as being in the county. But I know HOAs are really the ones that HOAs are the most restrictive form of government that we have. Let's face it. That's really what it narrows down to. There's a reason why you have a president and a vice president, and everybody else, it's government. And, unfortunately, that's part of your contract for buying your home. And that extra form of government can only be more restrictive. They can't remove restrictions that, everybody else, the state, the county, the federal government, all of them have their restrictions, and then your HOA piles on top. So my understanding is the HOA is really the issue. So I think it would kind of default to that. But I will tell you, as far as the amount of birds that you can comfortably house in an area would be a challenge. So, a typical backyard is a couple thousand square feet. So you're not dealing with a whole lot of space. So if you're going to have an area for them to kind of roam, which obviously, we prefer. So if you're going to have an area for them to free range, you can only have so much area that they can free range into. So I think it is a good guideline to go with kind of the industry norm as far as most people that are being an integrative farm and wanting to do things appropriately or correctly and sustainably is about 10 square feet per bird minimum. And that's for housing. Once you get them outside, as far as space, chickens will tear up the ground. I mean, they will mutilate the ground. We've got 40 chickens here, and a good portion of the front of our pasture is completely torn up. So we've got the space. It's 6,000 square feet. So most of that pasture is fine, and they roam on it all day long. But those 40 birds on a 1,000 square foot pasture, it would be gone within a few days, a week or two. So I think that would be the biggest challenge on top of whatever other city or state requirements are there.
All right. We got to get caught up here. So only 114 today and 117 on Monday. That's Elliot. You could sell heart-shaped watermelons. You guys are all trying to give me more jobs here.
I think it's great. These are great.
Will you be offering your eToy onions for sale online this fall? Ship to Southern California, or must they be purchased in person? I'm growing some from another farm, and they didn't look nearly as nice as yours.
Oh, well, it could be the conditions. Because if it is an eToy onion, conditions will make it'll vary a bit. Plus, when it's planted, if you plant a little too late, you have to pretty much harvest at a specific time. So if you plant a little too late, the onions themselves will be smaller. The clusters will be smaller. We noticed that last year. We had a bed that we planted a month later, and they were smaller. Mm-hmm. So they didn't make it get quite as big. They weren't quite as productive. So that could be part of it. To answer the question, I don't know that we'll offer that this year. I think What we're going to try to do right now is get them started. We want to make sure they all start well. This will be the first time that we've done this, and include those with our farm tour and our kind of our fall schedule, and kind of see how they do. Get everybody to start transplanting these, see how they do in backyard environments, in environments outside of Whitman, where, you know, the climate changes could be changing a little bit. I just want to make sure they're going to do really well for everybody. If they do, then we may expand that.
All right, Dan, Eon Farmers Market.
Every Saturday.
No, actually, Tara
At 2 o'clock.
next door, she wanted to do like a little farm stand eventually.
Yeah.
When will you select a name for Winston's home?
Oh, that's a good
question.
That's a great question.
We wrote all the names down. We just haven't gone back to it yet.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, we need to make a note. Mental note. We need to get that up as we will get that out to you guys. We need to get that out, and we will run a
Let's do a poll.
Here.
On YouTube.
We'll do it on YouTube here so you guys can vote on that. That's actually how we wound up with Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Last time.
Text us or email us to remind us so we don't forget.
Because we probably will.
Because we will. We will. Lori, what's the drink of the day today?
Mine's water.
I know. I have had anxiety really bad today, so I had a little bit of wine while we started this, so it would calm me down a little bit. And I was drinking some flame wine.
It's pretty good. Now, why did you have anxiety today? Was Perry visiting?
Perry is definitely in town. Yeah.
I had a feeling.
Okay, what pear tree do you recommend that is tasty but also is resistant to fire blight? I lost my pear tree to this year. I
don't have a good answer to that question. So we have 4 different pear trees here on the farm. All of them have blight to some extent. All of them do.
Yeah, and it's rare for us, since they don't ripen until fall, that we actually even get ripe fruit because of the birds.
I don't think we've had a ripe pear yet.
Yeah.
And we've had pears for the last 10 years,
yeah,
and we haven't gotten one. So we've got Waddell pears on the Waddell pear trees right now. We have a brand new Comus pear that has nothing on it. I will tell you, Asian pears are an exception. They will get some blight, but not as bad as the European pears do. And we have gotten harvest off of those. So I would suggest trying an Asian pear. 20th century pear, fantastic Asian pear. Grows really well and produces well. So we have a Shinseki. We've gotten one fruit off of it on the old farm. Haven't gotten one off of it on this farm yet. But they are slower growers, so they don't grow as fast.
All right, got Cynthia. I had a volunteer mulberry that I dug up and planted near my livestock area. How soon can I expect it to give fruit? It is on its second season and about 8 to 10 feet.
Okay, you said volunteer, so I'm curious as to whether or not it is growing from seed. I assume that it is. So if it's growing from seed, you don't know whether or not you have a male or a female. So that's the challenge with any mulberry that's grown from seed. Now, we don't have a male, try that again, Dwayne. We don't have a male mulberry tree anywhere near us. So, at least that I'm aware of. So we don't have viable seeds on our trees. If we did though, and those did sprout, we just wouldn't know. So the challenge will be whether or not you actually have a fruiting female mulberry tree. You may or may not. Usually though, I will tell you it's within a few years. So within 2 to 3 years, 4 years at the most, you should start seeing production. And have you seen any catkins on it yet? Because that's another thing. So when they first start sprouting new growth in the spring, male and female mulberry trees both put on catkins, and the females turn into fruit. The males simply produce pollen, and then they drop off the tree. So that will be an indicator as well.
All right, got Slam Boy. I put dry loquat and mulberry leaves in my shrimp tanks. They feed as they break down.
Hey, I like that. That's awesome.
All right, got
Abid's here. Hey, Abid, how's it going? Jujubes are coming along.
The jujube trees are loaded.
They're loaded with fruit.
There's so much on
Hopefully
there.
We'll get some this year.
Dwayne, do you remember the whole tutu talk when you said something along the lines of, "You will never catch me in a tutu. Nobody wants to see that."
That's a fact. That is still true.
What was the whole thing on that?
I don't remember. Was it Eric? I can't remember who brought it up. I think I want to say it was Eric.
Was it like getting to a certain number of subscribers or something? Is that what it was?
Okay, so now you're digging into the past. Okay, this is a claw. I don't know if I want to get into this whole pile of worms, but
I'm hearing about Moringa everywhere lately.
yes, let's get on to Moringa. We had a conversation about a tutu because of a subscriber count. We're nowhere near it, so it would have never happened.
Oh, I think it was supposed to happen like by the end of the year too, or something, wasn't it? Okay,
yeah,
so
but we never actually
it
officially.
never actually worked. Okay.
No.
The Moringa.
Yes. What about it?
I'm hearing about Moringa everywhere lately.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, literally is a miracle tree. We have 16 to 20 of them here. Just went through and did our first round of pruning. A little bit late, but did our first round of pruning and dried some Moringa leaves. We've got a video on the Healthy Farm Living channel on how we process Moringa. We've done a few videos here on how we grow Moringa. I will tell you, this is the time of year to plant them. We planted them right after our first monsoon storm, which was early. And so that was about a week and a half ago. Mm-hmm. We planted 5 seeds and we have 6 seeds. And we have how many starts?
6 seeds.
6 starts?
Mm-hmm.
So all 6 took. So this is the time of year to plant them. We plant them with the monsoon season. You want to direct seed them. That is ideal. They have a very deep taproot. So a transplanted Moringa will always be a challenge because the taproot typically, by design, will start to grow this way. And so just like you see fallen over mesquite trees, your Moringa roots, taproot will be wrapped. Once it starts to wrap, what's the right word? It's not very hardy. It'll snap real easy. What's the word? You guys know. So, but either way, it's very delicate. It's very easy to break. And so as soon as you break it, it's done. It'll basically, whoops, sorry, baby. It'll actually start to branch out. The roots will start to branch out and it will never establish well. So direct seeding this time of year would be ideal. That's Moringa.
All right, Lori, may you please consider uploading Cooking with Lori videos, rating the meal after a taste test, of course. Probably not.
I agree. We'll have it like Ozzy and Harriet. I'll come home from work. Hi, dear. I'm home. And it's just you. You'll be in your apron. You're like, I've got dinner ready for you, hon. Where's your duffel bag or your whatever that thing was called? And so I hand that to you. You hand me my bowl of whatever. We sit down and we go, isn't this great? Where's my
you just
paper?
had that whole thing. Oh my goodness.
It's totally not like that at all.
It's not going to happen.
It's not like that at all.
I have a hard time being on camera as it is, so it's really hard for me to do those videos.
My suggestion, if you guys, let me know what you guys think. We figured this out. Lori does not need to talk. She can simply film everything that she does with these recipes. So you guys will get it kind of behind the scenes. You'll see how she does all the cooking. We'll get the recipe up there and then we could try it together. Right? That sounds good to me.
All right. Thanks so much for your answer regarding the Etoy onions. We have 115 here in Las Vegas. My garden is struggling, but hanging in there. Thanks for sharing all your knowledge.
Definitely.
Here in Louisiana, my
Orient
pear tree does the best.
I've not heard of that, but Louisiana, so a little different environment.
Yeah. Cynthia, dang it. That's what I was afraid of. Still will provide shade for my animals. I have seen that. What looked like mulberry but fell off. Thought it was the wind. But B, thanks for my GGB. Appreciate reply. Miss Lori, work hard. Slam Boy, it's cooking down here in South Point. What poison did you use for gophers?
I'll make sure, check out our Amazon shop. I believe I have that in there. If not, we'll get that up.
Yes, you can send me an email or a text, and I can send you the information.
Yeah. Brittle. That's the word.
Brittle.
That was it. Thanks, Emily.
That's
the word.
You knew somebody knew it.
I did. Apparently, I need a drink now.
I have orange martinis ready for us after this is done.
Yes.
Okay, Cynthia, I purchased a home with 2 different pluot trees last year and gave a few fruit. This year, only 1 or 2 fruits on each tree. What is your experience with pluots?
So pluots are essentially plums. It's primarily plum parentage, plum and apricot, is they have a tendency to be alternate bearing. Most of your plum trees do. So you'll have one season that'll be heavier, and then the following season will be lighter. So we've found that that's pretty much the case with essentially all of our plums. And so it's also true of apricots. Our apricot trees are the same way. You have a plum and an apricot parentage in that particular variety. So that's what you're probably running into. I wouldn't be too concerned about it. We good?
Dwayne's suggestion of you not having to talk on camera is great. The ingredient additions can be added text while editing the video.
Exactly. And so that way they could see it. I think that'd be great. I agree 100%. Great option.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, perfect. I think we're just over an hour. So again, this is the Desert Farmer Podcast. So want to thank you guys for joining us today. We do plan on doing this each week. So that is 2 p.m. Arizona time. We will be gone the weekend of the 20th of July, so that will be an exception. But we do want to have that here. Questions, we will be taking questions, obviously, during the live stream, and we will bring questions with us. So we did have 2 more questions. If you can get back to here real quick. It's the question was what to do to ensure a successful grape harvest. Somebody asked that question. I will tell you, pruning is probably the most important thing when it comes to your grapevines. We talk about fertilizing. They're fertilized the same months as the rest of your fruit trees. And then irrigation. They need to be irrigated with plenty of heavy mulch and be consistent with your irrigation. But I will tell you, pruning is probably the most important thing. Once they're in year 4, which you guys will see next year for us, we'll start thinning. And so you'll see that as well. And then the last question we wrote down was what?
What wines are we making this year?
Perfect. So we have, I'm going to read them off. So we are doing mulberry like we always do. All of these are slightly different varieties. We're backing off on sugar in our everything that we consume. And so this is one of the reasons why these will change. So we have mulberry, blackberry, apple, flame grape, Thompson grape, Manuka grape, Syrah, which will be the last season we're doing Syrah. More on that later. Zinfandel, Cabernet, what we're calling a redneck peach, because we didn't do anything except put a bread yeast in it. So we'll see how
We're testing that.
We're testing it. Hey, it fermented. And then the last one we're going to do is peaches and cream. We're going to do a peaches and cream wine. I'm going to leave you guys with that. So we do plan on doing a video on that one because it should be a little bit unique. All right, guys, again, want to thank you for joining us today.
Do you want to do any last minute or
We'll
anything?
do a couple last minute things here, but just want to thank you guys for joining us again. Went a little bit over. If you guys that are still here, if you can give us a thumbs up or a like, that'd be fantastic. It really helps to get this out here, especially as we start doing this on a regular basis. You guys do a great job of giving us questions here. We really want this to be as interactive as it can be, and that will help. So until next week, when we see you guys, we have one last question.
Well, yeah, let me just get through here. So
Okay.
Moringa trees, are they messy? Can I plant somewhat close to a pool?
They can be messy because they will drop some leaves and the flowers. So they do drop flowers.
All right, thank you so much. And then each week instead of monthly?
Correct.
Mark. Yeah, except for the weekend of July 20th.
Right, we'll be out of town.
Not be here. Then thanks so much. Bye, everybody. Have a
Yep.
great weekend. Appreciate your time. Very nice. Thumbs up. Glad I could catch you live.
Yeah, that's awesome, guys. Thanks again for joining us. And we will see you next week for the Desert Farmer Podcast. Bye, everyone.
Bye.